Hey guys, what's going on? It's Chamber here. Welcome back to another YouTube video. And now today we're going to be talking about Windows 10, how to install it, and some really important things you need to do once you've installed it. I'm going to say this. Most people are just going to say, go to Microsoft's website, download the media installation tool, put it onto a flash drive, and you're done. That's all you have to do. Now, that's not what you need to do. There's a lot more that you need to do. I'm going to talk about which Windows version you should do because there's a lot of them, honestly. What you can do to, ways that you can stop Microsoft from just ruining Windows straight off the installation. So let's get right into it. We're just going to go to Chrome. Going to recommend Chrome for this. So we're just going to go to Windows install. Actually, just type in Windows install. Type in download Windows 10. Now, you're going to right click and you can see inspect. This is the same thing as Control-Shift-I or F12. We're just going to hit inspect. So I'm behind my camera, and as you can see right here, you're going to have something like this most likely. You're just going to hit toggle device toolbar, Control-Shift-M. It's going to show up very I think it's going to be like an iPhone 10, so it's going to be like this. I just switched it like this so you guys can see it a little easier. So now what we're going to want to do is just hit restart. Now when we restart, it's actually going to look different than what you have. So we're going to select our edition of Windows. We're going to hit Windows 10. Obviously, now I'm not going to go into older Windows versions. Should you use them? Should you not? Just download the October 2020 update. It's actually really good, especially for performance compared to what we've had in the past. Just select the product language. Now I'm just going to recommend English because I speak English. Use whatever you use, but just hit confirm. Now it's going to ask you, do you want to do the 32-bit or 64-bit? Obviously, we're going to do 64-bit. If you're on a newer PC, you're obviously going to be on 64-bit. Or as long as you can run 64-bit, you're going to want to do it. I'm going to cancel this download. I already have it installed. As you can see, it's on my desktop. Now, I'm going to recommend that you use a flash drive like this. Obviously, that's going to be the easiest way, especially if you're on a new PC. That's the only way you can do it. There's a couple other ways you can do it. I'm not going to go into that, such as tricking your motherboard into thinking that you have a USB, but it's actually your flash drive. But it's actually your SSD in a partition. I'm going to use that just because it's quicker, but no, it doesn't work with everything. So to actually get your ISO file onto now your USB, you're going to want to make sure your USB is plugged into your computer. Mine is. As you can see, it is called Windows. And make sure that it's formatted. This will delete all the data off of it. Make sure you know that. So I'm just going to hit format, then hit OK. So now when it does that, it's going to wait a second. And any second now, it should be like, oh, okay, hit OK. Now we're going to need something called Rufus. So just type in Rufus and then Google, and then click the first link. Now for the download, I'm going to recommend 3.13, the portable version. I always like portable versions slightly better. If you want to use the newer version, if you want to use the normal version, go right ahead. Portable version, I've had weird stuff where if I use an older version and then try the newer version without the portable, it doesn't work. It doesn't matter though for this case. So just hit the Rufus. I'm actually going to delete my config from here. It's going to ask you, do you want to check for updates? Hit no. And now we're going to have a device. This should auto-populate as your flash drive. Make sure it's the same letter and the same name. And then we're going to make sure that we want it as a disk or ISO image. Hit select. You're going to want to go to wherever you download that .iso file. Mine's on my desktop, so I'm going to hit this and then click it. For your image option, you're going to want to make sure it's a standard Windows installation. Windows to Go is for smaller Windows. Just do the normal one. Obviously, you're going to have room if you're on something like this. Partition scheme. GPT or MBR. Now, if let's say this was a year ago, I would recommend MBR. But GPT is now the way that you want to go. GPT is UEFI, so if you're on, let's say, a drive bigger than 2 terabytes, You can install it on this, and your hit registration in games is going to feel better. Now, mouse doesn't feel as good, but being able to not feel like you're getting shot by, not being shot behind walls is so much more important than how good your mouse feels on the desktop. So that's what I'm going to say. For volume label, you can set it to whatever you want. I'm going to set mine to Windows, just with all capitals. You can set it to Windows 10. You can set it to whatever you want. You can set it to just, that's the new name. That's the new name. Just whatever, random keystrokes. File system, you're going to need NTFS. That's the Windows installation file. Cluster size 4096. It doesn't matter, honestly. You can do whatever you want. Just what I'm going to do now. Hit start. Just know this will destroy all data if you have not formatted again. Hit OK. And it's going to start the install process. I am going to cancel this though because I already have the installation. And I'll show you actually what it should look like on your drive. So like, let's say you're on here and it had it. It's going to look like this. You're going to have these 4 folders and then 3 like text looking files, or not text files, and a .exe. We're not going to touch the exe at all. We're going to restart into BIOS. Now, restarting into BIOS should technically be like is normally delete or F2. For some, it's like F11. It can be a lot of different things. For me, it's F2. It can also be F1, I know. So for me, I'm just going to spam my delete key. If you don't know what your BIOS key is, look it up online. Just type in your manufacturer and then BIOS key. It will tell you online. But I'm hitting the delete key. And now we're going to want to go to our boot tab. Now, as you see, I have a couple of things. You're going to want to make sure, like, let's say that you're using a SanDisk USB key. You're going to put it as partition 1, and maybe also partition 2. And then if you already have a boot manager, just disable it. I'm going to keep it disabled, but I'm actually not using these. I'm using what's called UEFI OS, and I'm going to make sure that no other boot options are enabled. This will look different if you are on a different if you're on a different BIOS version. It's like ASUS's look different, MSI's look different, Gigabytes, but they're all the basic same. You're going to want to go to a boot tab. Make sure the first option is your installation. Now we can hit save changes and exit, and it's going to restart in the installation process. Make sure that you do not, first of all, take out the USB key until it's restarted for the first time. So when you're actually on your SSD. Right now, it's restarting into the actual setup process on the flash drive. I don't know what happens if you unplug the flash drive. I don't want to know. I don't want to test it. But language to install, obviously do what you are. Like, let's say you're in a different country or you speak a different language. Do whatever you do is best. This is what's best for me. And I'm going to hit install now. Now, it's going to start the install process right now. It's going to ask us a couple questions now. Now, let's say that you have a key. First of all, only have a Windows 10 professional key. You can get one from Microsoft itself, from like a cheap key. But for this video, I'm just going to click I don't have a product key. Now, there's all these options. And now most people is, well, I'm just going to hit home. We don't want to hit home during this installation process. There's a lot of different versions. So I'm going to say this. Do not go for an N version. Those do not have the media player and a couple other files that are actually needed for games. Certain games will not run unless you have those files in Windows, meaning that you can't play some games you may want to play. I'm also going to recommend don't go for anything else but Pro, just Windows 10 Pro. Don't go for a home, don't go for an education, don't go for a Pro for workstations. We just want to hit 10 Pro. This one is going to allow us to disable updates and a couple other things so that stuff we do on our Windows won't get reset. Now we're going to want to accept these license terms. Just hit next. Now most people will think that especially if they already have Windows installed on this PC, they're going to want to hit upgrade. You don't want to. You're going to want to hit custom. And then you're going to have a bunch. You probably will have 2 different things if you're on a brand new PC. Like you'll have like, let's say you have like a 2 terabyte game drive. I have a 1 terabyte. It's going to show up right here. I also have this bootloader. If you are reinstalling, you can delete these 3 files, like the 100 meg, the 60 meg, and like the 500. I don't want to. I have a couple other ones. So I'm just going to hit now and hit This one, it's my Windows. I'm going to copy Windows files. This could take a while, especially if you're on a USB 2.0 drive. USB 3.0 shouldn't take it's not going to take a super long time. Depends on whatever driver you are using. I'm going to come back when this has finished. So you're going to get this thing saying Windows needs to restart. You can wait for this timer to go off, or you can just hit restart now. That's what I'm going to do. Now you're going to want to have to go back into your BIOS. This is just to make sure that it doesn't ask you to restart the installation process, which it can. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to hit spam my delete key. That's my way to get into BIOS. Do whatever you get into your BIOS with. So for me, I'm just going to spam my delete key. And now we're going to go back to that boot tab. Now you're going to make sure that you disable it. And then you're going to put in Windows Boot Manager. You can also take out your USB drive now. I took mine out. It's right here. So we no longer have that. And now I'm just going to hit exit, save changes and exit. Yes. Now this is going to put into this is where you really do the settings, like what you want your PC to be named. Do you have a password? This part could take a while depending on your PC's speed. Depends on how long Windows decides to download in the background. Like, does it decide to install Candy Crush? But it shouldn't. Make sure that right now what we're going to do is actually, let me click this, take out your Ethernet cable. Do that right now. You're going to want to do this so that Microsoft can't force an old NVIDIA driver to install. When it does that, it's going to cause issues. You're going to have to display driver uninstaller or DDU the driver. That's going to take more time. This is just the easiest way to do it. Also make sure that your driver does not install unless you choose to install a driver yourself. Now we're just waiting for Windows to get ready. Decide it's going to let that. It's like, oh, well, what are we going to take from you? Like, this is when Microsoft starts to really track you and be like, ooh, what data can we sell today? I don't know. Windows 7 and 8 didn't used to do this, sadly. We can no longer really use those. But it looks like we're actually getting into the installation process now. The very interesting black screen. It restarts actually. I always forget when Windows restarts and they're in these setup processes. Because a lot of times I just try to skip through these as quick as possible. But you're going to want to wait. Don't if Microsoft's or Windows restarts, don't be worried. Don't think, oh no, is something wrong? There's no, it's fine. It's just Windows being Windows. So we're going to, okay, this is when you start to get Windows really starts to show up as oh yeah, this is Windows 10. It's going to ask you just a moment. And let's start with your region. I'm in the United States. That's what I'm going to click. Yes. And then I'm going to hit the US. Unless you actually use a secondary keyboard layout, I don't know what you would. Just hit skip. It's the best option. And then, as you can see, it says that we're not connected to the internet. So just hit I don't have internet. And it's going to be like, are you sure you don't want to connect to the internet? Are you sure you don't want all this stuff that you'll probably never use? Yeah, continue with limited setup. It's really the unlimited setup. You get way more options. You get to choose who's going to use this PC. I'm just going to put it in chamber. And then for a password, you can put a password if you want to. I'm not going to. I don't like to use a password, so I'm just going to hit next. And this is, you just want to uncheck all of these. Now, these really don't do anything, but obviously it's nicer just to make sure that you uncheck these. So if there is something that really wants to check from these, it won't. Just hit accept. We don't want Cortana to be set up. We don't want them to listen to Hey Cortana, so just hit not now. And this is when you really get into, this is when it's going to do another it's going to set up everything in the background. This is going to take a while. Then it will throw you onto the desktop right here. You might restart during this, you might not. I've had it sometimes restart, I've had it not. But I'm going to come back once this has finished. So now that you've installed Windows, you're on your desktop, you're going to hit Windows key and R and gp edit.msc. Now you're going to hit computer configuration, administrative templates, Windows components. Make sure you're not connected to the internet right now. I am right now because I'm recording this out of order. You're going to hit Windows Update. Now there's a couple settings you're going to want to change in here. Do not include drivers or Windows updates enabled. This is so certain drivers will not install. Then you want to do not connect to any Windows Update internet connections enabled. Remove access to use all Windows Update features enabled. And then specify intranet Microsoft Update. I like to hit enabled https://www. whatever you want. So I'm supposed to do lolno.com, Control A, Control C, and then I just like to literally copy and paste that, hit apply. And then configure automatic updates disabled, and that's it. Now you're going to hit Windows key R. Oh, actually, you're going to want to you're going to hit your Windows key. I don't know why that's not showing up. Microsoft. Oh, wait, you can hit Command prompt search. Run as administrator, yes. Then you're going to type in gp update /space/force. This is going to make sure no drivers install. I've said that before. But this is the same thing as doing a restart. If you'd want to do a restart, you can, but this is a lot easier. You're going to hit Windows key and I, update and security, and then your devices won't. If it lets you pause updates, it shouldn't. You can do it. Let me pause updates earlier, so I just did that just to make sure nothing did install. Now, let's get into installing actual, like, what drivers you need. Now it's asked me if I want my PC to become discoverable. If you, this might be helpful if you like need some storage devices. I've never had to use it. I'm just going to click no. And now we're going to go to Microsoft Edge. Just hit confirm. We don't want to sign in at all. And it might be like a little like slow. Okay, now here we are. Now if you're on an NVIDIA card, you're going to do NVIDIA drivers. And then you want to do automatically detect. We don't want that. You're going to have to like click it twice. I don't understand why Microsoft wants you to be like, hey, you want to buy some stuff from us? Okay, what is going on with NVIDIA's website right now? Oh no. Logitech capture is going. Oh great. Let's just hit download drivers at the top. Beta and older drivers. So you want to hit GeForce 30 series standard, recommend certified, search. I'm going to recommend Force 57.30 if you're playing COD. If you're playing a newer game like Cyberpunk, just hit the newest one. Just download whatever one you want, then hit download. So you can just hit download, and now it's going to install down there. I'm going to pause that. I'll install a driver later. If you're on AMD, just type in AMD drivers, and hit this. It's the top link. Now, graphics. Just choose whatever graphics you have. Like, let's say you have a 6900 XT. You can download that driver. Do not install chipset drivers if you're on Ryzen. These are not going to help. These, I doubt they'd ruin your performance. They don't help, especially that power plan that that AMD came out with. It doesn't help. Next, you're just going to want to type in control, then hardware and sound, power options, and just hit high performance. Okay, so now what you're going to want to do is you might get this Windows inactivated. You're going to make sure that you do activate Windows. I haven't activated Windows yet on this. Just change product key. You can get a product key somewhere. Do however you want. Close that out and then activate Windows. You do not want a Windows watermark showing up. That watermark is going to not allow you to have exclusive full screen. It's going to cause issues with some games, especially like Fortnite. You're not going to have as smooth of an out. You're not have a smooth input with your mouse. It's going to feel like you're dragging it through mud, honestly. But that's it. That's the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. Show this to someone, especially if they're building like a new PC, or they just need to get good and install Windows the right way. That's it. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Hit the like button down below. Subscribe if you guys are new. And I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.